Hi, and welcome to New Teacher University, where our goal is to make your first years, your best years, and your foundational years. Today, we're going to discuss a topic that many new teachers can use to help with classroom management as well as classroom assessment. What is a do now or bell ringer? It depends on what your school decides to call it. Some call it a do now, some schools will call it a bell ringer, and some schools will call it by their mascot name, like a tiger do now, or a tiger ringer, or a falcon ringer, or something of that nature. So today we're going to discuss what is a do now. So a do now or a bell ringer serves multiple purposes for teachers and students. One of the most important things that happens with a do now or a bell ringer is that it supports academics. Anytime that you have a do now or a bell ring on the board, it should support what you're teaching at the time, or should review something that you want to make sure that you keep in the student top of consciousness and top of mind. It also supports classroom management with routines and procedures because it is a do now. That's one of the things that you'll teach right at the beginning of the year. How do we come in the classroom, get started on our do now? Because the students should be able to, which is number 3, they should be able to self-manage this. This is a tool to help with social emotional learning, which helps with students' emotional intelligence. How many of them can we get to really come in and understand the importance of this and come in and follow the rules and regulations or procedures to make sure that they're doing their do now or bell ringer? So a do now bell ringer supports academics through quick assessments. So it can be formative. It must be formative because it can't be summative. So it's a quick assessment. You can put a question up or a prompt that they have to answer to something that you've already covered to see how many students actually learned what you taught and were engaged in the lessons. It also activates prior knowledge. A do now bell ringer can activate prior knowledge, so you can put a question up or a prompt that you're getting ready to teach just to see how many students already have some knowledge about this and to assess how much knowledge they have, so that now you'll know how to prepare your instruction, or it will inform how you move forward with the instruction that you've already prepared. And it's discovering students' misconceptions about the content. So as you look at the answers, as you listen to the questions that they ask, as you have your discussion after you complete the do now, you can find out what misconceptions students have, and that can also inform your instruction. And it's introducing or assessing academic vocabulary. So you can use the do now to introduce the vocabulary that you are about to introduce in a lesson that you're about to teach, or you can take that and assess the vocabulary that you've already taught. So the do now bell ringer should always support the academics that you are currently teaching or something that you've just taught. So it should align with the standards that you're teaching right now, because you don't want to just pull a do now out of the air that's isolated from what you're currently teaching, because it makes your lesson seamless when your do now really goes into your I do and your we do and your you do. So as it should be a part of your gradual release process or your scaffolding, and we'll talk about that in a later presentation. A do now should also support classroom management with routines and procedures. Students must be taught your expectations about how to enter the room and begin the do now. They must be taught how to enter your room and begin the do now. So you can't expect your students to just come in and sit down and start the do now. You must teach them how you want this done. And in order for you to teach them how you want this done, you have to practice at the beginning of the year. And that's why they say the first 3 weeks of school for secondary plus 33, or the first 6 weeks of school plus 30 for elementary students, because those first 3 weeks you should practice routines, procedures, and how you want things done. The next way that it supports classroom management is with, you must have the do now ready when the students enter the room. You can't be getting ready. It must be ready in order for it to be a part of your routines and procedures. So you'll have to be consistent. It should last no more than 3 to 7 minutes. Most people say 3 to 5, but sometimes if the discussion is good and the students have great questions, you can extend it a little bit if it's something that is bridging into your gradual release or your lesson that you're introducing. And the do now establishes consistency in your class. Remember, you do not become effective or great by being mean. You become effective and great by being consistent when your students know that they can expect to come in your room and you're going to have certain things ready for them to do. Now you've erased all of the excuses. So it supports classroom management with routines and procedures by making sure that you teach your expectations to your students. The Do Now bell ringer also supports student self-management. Students will always live up to your expectations. If your expectations are consistent, and you're consistently expecting the same thing from students, they will give it to you. The do now should require little to no support from the teacher. The do now should require little to no support from the teacher. It establishes your consistency. Students are checking to see, are you going to have this do now ready every day? Or are you going to have it ready every other day? Practice entering the room and starting to do now as many times necessary in order to properly establish the routine. So if you have to practice it 5 times the first day, if you have to practice it 3 times the next day, if the next day it goes back up to 5 times, whatever you have to do so that they'll understand this is an expectation and we're not going to this expectation. You'll come in and do your do now. Now, of course, we have human moments, but we want students to know that they come in and the expectation is they get their supplies and start on the do now. Make your do now short. Plan it taking no more than 3 to 7 minutes. Be active. Tell students what to do, starting directions with a verb. Be ready. Have it posted when students enter in the same place every day. And make sure that it is relevant. Connect the task to the previous or upcoming lesson. Make sure that the students know that it's going to be seamless. What their do now is. It's not going to be something that's totally isolated. It's going to be something either that they've done or that they're getting ready to do or that they are currently doing. So there are ways that you can have epic fails with your do now. One of those ways are the directions are vague. And it becomes just a laborious task because the students are asking each other, what do we need to do? How do we do this? The tasks take too long, and it becomes the do now and the do later. They're working on it 20 minutes into the class period. And it's not posted when students arrive, and it becomes the do whatever you want until it's ready. So let's make sure that we are consistent, that we do not fall into these epic fails. Every day when they come into the classroom, the do now is up, they know where it is, and they know what to do to get started. And finally, remember, have your do now in the same place every day. Have it ready when your students walk in. It should either review yesterday's lesson or preview today's lesson or introduce today's lessons. The do now should be no more than 3 to 7 minutes. That magic spot is around 3 to 5 minutes, unless you have some discussions going into it. And also, your do nows can be reading passages, because we also want to get our students in the mode of reading with more words per minute. We should increase the length of the passage as we move forward. And I will attach examples of do nows at the bottom of this video. Thank you for joining us at New Teacher University, where our goal is to make your first years your best and your most foundational years. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Again, thank you for joining us at New Teacher University, and we hope that this video on a do now or bell ringer is very helpful to you.